You're listening to Mark of the Maker. Hey everybody, I'm Mark Steiner and you're listening to Mark of the Maker. This is episode 106 of the show, and just the four of us tonight. Let's make sure we got everybody here. We have Mr. Michael Birch.
I am here.
We have Mr. Sean Kendrick.
Hey.
Sean's phoned in from a faraway planet. That's why he sounds like that. And we have Mr. Tom Crine.
Hey guys.
And we're going to get into a little topical thing here in a minute. Tom, you want to start us off?
I want to give a huge thanks to all the Patreon supporters. We literally couldn't do this without your help. I mean, we could, but why would we want to?
No, Tom, they're invaluable.
It is true. You guys make this possible. It's crazy, but there is a lot of expense to it. The software, the mics, mailing them around, plus our retirement plans, the 401k.
Right. The executive retreat.
Yeah. In all reality, we do really appreciate you guys, and we've got some stuff coming up. I'm going to be out of town a little bit, but we've got some fun stuff coming up for you guys. So stay tuned, and if you can, help support the show. We appreciate it, and rock on.
Yeah, thanks all. We appreciate it greatly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you guys.
We just spent a couple of Patreon bucks on getting Tom a new microphone mount. His went... It disintegrated in the glorious ambiance of the Crine Knives shop.
Well, I mean, that thing is a couple years old, so.
That's true.
Daniel was like, what happened to it? I'm like, it just disintegrated with age.
Yeah, man. Season 6, it's a long time.
106 episodes, wow.
Crazy. Sean, you got something for us?
Yeah. For you folks who are looking for the finest in exotic materials, save yourself a little bit of time and a whole lot of money and head over to American Metal Exchange and tell George Sean sent you. George at American Metal Exchange has all the exotics you could possibly want. Mokutai, Zircutai, Darktai, Kenobitai, Mokume, Damasteel, Damascus, you name it, he's got it. And if he ain't got it, you probably don't need it. So head on over to amxinc.com and get hooked up. That's amxinc.com.
It's also brought to you by Giant Mouse, our friends over there. They've got a lot of cool designs, a lot of great knives at some really awesome price points. I was just looking at the H Tribeca. Got contoured titanium. They've been doing a lot of stuff in the new Magnet Cut stuff. A lot of kind of design features for a hell of a great price. You can find them at giantmouse.com. Yins, Anzo, and Vox, a lot of their designs come together on this, and our friend Jim Worth, they are that team, and they do some really cool stuff, and we appreciate them supporting the show.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you
fellas.
guys.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Good. Okay, got a little business taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive into this thing. Michael, what are we going to talk about? Tell the kids at home.
Well, it's a topical. It's we're going to try not to get too ranty on this one, but we cannot guarantee that we won't. It's going to be some things that we wish we knew or that we could tell ourselves when we were first started making knives. Maybe a few mistakes along the way, a few mishaps, missteps, or just things we wish we had known about. So we just kind of all pick some, and for Mark, it's some of the stuff that he, as a collector, wish he knew. And we'll see how it goes. It should be interesting. Hopefully not too boring.
And we have not discussed this between us.
It could just be one big mistake that we all agree on.
Maybe the shortest podcast we've done.
Right. I think the working title I had for the folder where I'm keeping the files is If I Knew Then.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if we get to the end of 2 hours and we say, if we only knew before we started this shit show how this was going to go.
Yeah. And I think I'm kicking it off first.
You are. Set the tone, my man.
Oh boy. One thing that I think, and I still struggle with this one, is worrying about what people have to say about my pricing. When I was first starting out, that was a tough one. You know, that very first knife was $60. I sold it on Blade Forums. And it was that, you guys remember these days where you'd put it up and you'd go back and look, you'd be like, oh, it looks like someone's looked at it, you know, or someone's like checking it out. And it took me quite a few knives to get one that I felt was okay to sell. And when someone actually bought it, I was so excited. And at that point, I wasn't thinking about profit or things like that. It was just like, ooh, I actually sold something. I can go buy more materials. And then since then, you know, when you start setting your pricing, there's a lot of like, oh, this is too low. Or sometimes it's, you need to raise your price, or you know, you're doing great. A lot of these guys are at, you know, don't, you know, keep them where they're at. And sometimes I think it wasn't, you know, for my benefit. I think it was sometimes to kind of, you know, be a little bit more profit sometimes. And I've gotten to where I'm happy pricing stuff where I want it to be, to make myself happy. And, you know, that saying like, oh, they're really proud of that. You know, when I price stuff, I want to price it so I am proud of it. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, because I'm proud of what I'm making these days. And getting a little bit more, you know, price your stuff, but I keep adding stuff to it. And I don't know, I kind of wish I'd been more comfortable with that from the get-go.
Pricing knives is really difficult.
Man, that's a tough one for all of us.
It's crazy, because it's weird, you know, in the art knife world. You know, you see a lot of crazy pricing, and I get it. You know, there's a ton more than what we were doing in like the tactical. I always put quotations around tactical because it doesn't feel like we're tactical anymore. We're EDC or tactical or whatever you want to call it. But for some reason, in our stuff, it was like the sum of our materials plus some labor. Like we were kind of in this, you know, the blue collar of knife making. We were supposed to do an hourly rate of this plus our materials. For some reason, art wasn't put into that equation, which is kind of crazy. And I've gotten a lot better at just kind of separating myself from what that is. It's got to be worth my time, or there's no point in doing it.
Yeah, but
You know?
at the time, wasn't there some realities of the day around earlier times of tactical knives where they were kind of looked at as much simpler, more straightforward knives? It was kind of the point of the genre to begin, right?
Oh yeah, it was supposed to be like, you can take these knives to war. But
Right.
we very quickly, you know, what did Ken Onion dub them? Genticles, I
Right.
think was the fun term for it. I mean, we very quickly separated from, or I mean, some folks did, from just a bead blasted and onto trying to do cooler, funner stuff. So, but yeah, that's kind of where it was. And there'd be all these horses, don't chase your secondary, don't do any of that and all that. And it's like, I got so scared of that I'd be like, oh, I better keep them low, which I still want to make them so that people get a good knife for the price. But I also have to get paid. I have a family. This pays my bills. This pays for all the kid stuff. And I make no apologies for that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a long time ago, right? There's an episode.
Mhm.
I don't remember which episode it is, but there's actually a pricing episode. So people that haven't listened to it, back in 2018, April 11th of 2018, we did a pricing episode specifically on this topic and dug a little bit into kind of what goes into it. And I think for you, that that I'm going to price my knives where I need to price them was one, a journey, right?
Oh yeah.
And two, this is old guy stuff talking, right? But it doesn't seem like it was that long ago that you started really changing that around, right? I mean, maybe it's
No.
longer than I'm giving you credit for, but
Maybe 2 years.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
not
I
that long.
raised them, you know, but it took me a while to break, you know, any sort of $2,000, you know, price point. It was, but I kept adding stuff to them. I'd be like, oh shit, I need to, you know, pay myself for this. Otherwise,
But
it's kind of pointless.
I think it's also different a little bit if you're full time like we are, where this is our sole income, versus hobby makers who are trying to learn and just trying to get materials like we did early on.
Yeah,
And that's what makes the market kind of weird and difficult, because it's like there's people need different things, and yeah, I don't know.
Oh, it's wild. It's kind of crazy. Like if you see someone who is doing it as a hobby, they start off and they do price a little bit lower, or, you know, a little bit more reasonable to get them out there. Then people will, you know, go to that and be like, oh shit, this is quite a deal. And then it spreads. People are like, holy shit, this is great. And it almost creates a market, because they're saying, oh, and then when they raise the price, like, it's still like this popular knife. It's kind of wild to see how some of that works. But yeah, I don't know. It took me quite a while. I don't know if, like, I don't see as many newer makers kind of going that route. I see plenty of hefty prices for sure.
Agree.
So I don't know.
Well, it's an interesting thing, right? I mean, like I said, there's probably a fair bit of sign of the times in both ends of that spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure.
I mean, they were kind of expected to be more affordable because they were simpler than a lot of stuff on the market at the time, right? When things were very basic at the beginning of that arc. And today, what's a new maker see when they come in? Not cheap knives, right?
No.
So I don't know. Somewhere in there, it's like, yeah, people sometimes swing pretty hard early on pricing, and at the same time, what's the market say right now, right? I mean, it's softened a bit, I think, but it's an interesting situation for sure.
Yeah, I knew when I also starting out, I had a fair amount of like I'm new type of guilt of, you know, I can't charge as much as someone that don't, you know, that I see that's been around for a bit. I'm like, I can't do that. Who am I type of, you know, mentality.
I will say I agree with one thing you said a lot. I don't think we're doing tactical knives anymore. It's more like
No.
EDC. Tactical knives is 10 years ago.
I haven't done tactical knives and I don't know how long. I mean, it's.
But I think most of the industry doesn't. I mean, yeah,
No.
there's some black ones and stuff, but not like what we were doing when it started.
No. For sure.
Good call.
So yeah, that's what I tell young Michael.
Young Michael to come to grips with pricing earlier in his career.
Yeah. And, you know, I tell that to regular today and Michael too, on most days. Stop worrying about it.
Sean's down, I know. Know your worth, he says.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Don't sell yourself short.
All right.
Very
Well,
good.
It's a good one. It's a good one. What about you, Tom?
My recommendation is, you know, to early me or a new maker, you know, is to just actually do it. A lot of times it's that first step of a journey that is the hardest to take. And, you know, learn as much about it as you can, but you're going to learn a lot as you go along. There's some really good books. Now the internet has tons of stuff, but, you know, you don't need a grinder. You don't need anything fancy. I started out with files and a vise and, you know, some 01, and yeah, just do it. Get out there and start. Realize they're not going to be great. You can totally make a totally functional knife that you can use and be proud of, and learn. That's the thing. You start teaching your hands how to do things, and it's that whole concept of starting the journey. And that's my advice.
I think that's a good bit of advice. It seems like a mountain that you have to hop over, but you really don't have to hop over the mountain. You just got to fucking take a step.
Yep.
And it's usually just, like you said, picking up a book, talking to a maker, going back on some of the old forums and reading all that shit, grabbing a file and some, soft metal, see what you can do.
Yeah, I really think, there's a lot of information on YouTube and all this stuff, but it's almost information overload.
Oh,
some of these books are pretty concise. If you can find a copy of the Loveless Barney Moran book, it's worth getting. They're out there. You can find them used. It's out of publication now, but it's a great book to have.
I just saw you recommend that to somebody the other day.
Yeah, in the group. It's worth having it. It has so much good information from stock removal to forging to a whole section on no power tools to leather sheath making to basic metallurgy. It's worth getting. It's probably, in my opinion, it's the best book on knife making that's ever been available.
Yeah. And if you can, go to the forums and look at the old, knife maker, areas. There's a ton of information in there, and it was usually a pretty good self, cleansing area. If there's too much bullshit, it kind of got called out.
Sadly, the USN, all that got dumped.
Shit.
Yeah, when they rebooted USN V2, everything got deleted.
Isn't there still Blade Forum stuff or no?
Yeah.
I would hope so. There's a lot of stuff out there, but that's kind of an issue with YouTube. It's like, there's a lot out there. It's like when you go looking for any kind of new technique or whatever, it's like,
well, and who are you listening to also?
Yeah. And it's always it's got a video front picture of like a lot of, I don't know. They're always that kind of weird clickbaity look to them of, can I forge these two steels together with, I don't know. Can you? Just tell me if you can or can't. And then, if you can, let's see it.
Yeah, there's probably some generational stuff in there somewhere too, right? Like some people are comfortable with books. Some people are comfortable with video. Matthew, the guy that was just on with us, obviously comfortable with ponying up some money and going to some classes. And I don't know, it seems like whatever works for you, right? But
yeah,
kind of to your thing, Tom.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, do it.
Yeah.
Find what works and make it happen.
Take that step.
That's it.
Shit, if I can make knives, I think anyone can make knives.
That's true. If Michael can make knives, anybody can.
I'm not shitting. There's no magical skill level or anything like that. It's just stubbornness. I mean, that's really all you kind of need.
You have to have the want.
Yeah.
That's it. And basic intelligence, which I think most of us.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's exceptions to the rule. I proved that rule, so I proved the exception. Oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like anything someone wants to be good at, right? If you want to be good at it, you have to actually go put your heart into it, right? For most people, I think, certainly for anybody who's really accomplished, if you ask them, hey, did that just happen for you? It's just automatic and it just happened? No, right? The reality is that people are good enough to get recognized for what they do, I think, are people that have poured themselves into it, generally speaking.
And have piles of mistakes behind them.
Absolutely.
Made a mistake today.
Yeah. Talk about that for people that aren't in the Facebook group.
Yeah, we'd like to hear about that mistake a lot.
Yeah. So I was grinding a blade, and it's one of the more difficult grinds that I do. It's like an asymmetrical tanto grind. So the top of the tanto is ground on a 3-inch wheel, and the front's a flat, and the bottom's on the 14. And getting all the lines to meet up is kind of tough. And if it has a little bit of warp, it makes it even tougher. And it just, I think it had a little bit of warp or something. And I don't know, maybe I just didn't hold my mouth right, but it got away from me and I couldn't fix it. So I put it in the vise, and Ben got to break it with a hammer. So yeah, it's a good way to destroy something and check the grain and feel better.
I haven't broken one in a while. I mean, I've messed stuff up, but I haven't like broken for fun. Usually just toss it in the drawer or in the trash. I've gotten pretty good at just tossing anymore.
No, I just wanted to break it because
Yeah.
frustration. But yeah,
Well, if you make enough mistakes like I do, it just becomes normal.
yeah, I didn't like that.
I commented before we started that the look of glee on Ben's face was mildly concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he'd already hit it like 3 or 4 times. That was a pretty good swing. I was like, hey, wait, let's actually video this. But
He took great pleasure in smashing your shit.
he was surprised it's surprising how tough Nitro V is. And that blade had pretty deep hollows on both sides and
Yeah.
in a vise without any rounded edges or anything, not soft jaws. And using like a 3-pound hammer, he punched it pretty hard that last time.
Yeah.
Next time he's grinding, just hold that hammer.
Yeah.
Kinda look at him.
He's been doing pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah, his stuff is looking good, man.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have moments of advice for Ben, or is it just more like dad-son kind of advice along the way?
Yeah. I try to, when he has problems, I'm like, well, let's figure this out, and it's funny because it's like, it's total new knife maker stuff. Cause it's like one day you stand up to the grinder and everything is right in the world and you can grind like a god. And
Really?
the next day, what?
Oh.
You don't have times like that
Mm-mm.
when it goes good?
Sure. Yeah, when it I don't get pissed off. Sure.
I know you have good days because I see some of your grinds and they're awesome. So,
I appreciate that.
but there's other times when you get up at the grinder and it's like you can't make it do anything. Like the belts aren't cooperating, and you go to set your plunge, and instead of it radiusing around the wheel, it just cuts straight into your plunge, and you're just like, ah.
Yeah.
And it's just like basic knife making 101. It's like it's all about learning how to fix your mistakes, and that's it, and it gets easier with repetition. And as you learn to correct your mistakes, you learn not to make the mistakes. That's how it works. And that's a beautiful thing. It just takes time. And if you're willing to be stubborn and put in that time, guess what? You get better.
Yeah.
It becomes good. Like a lot of times if I don't like doing something, like I don't know if you saw the new model I've got, the Icarus.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't know if I was going to be able to grind that. I didn't know. It's a double recurve with a hawksbill tip, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. But if you force yourself to do stuff like that, it becomes easier. And so, I didn't. There was a long time when I didn't flat grind at all. So I designed some knives that only were going to be flat ground, and that's what I did. I learned how to flat grind. I forced myself to do that with repetition, and then you learn. So that's kind of back to that whole just do it. If there's something you aren't comfortable with, do it. Repetition makes it easier.
For sure.
Yeah, I really like that design. When I saw that come up on your page, I'm like, oh, look at that from Tom.
That thing's even a pain in the ass to sharpen.
Yeah, I bet.
You got to be so careful on the tip.
Yeah.
But it's mean.
Burn that real fast.
Oh,
Meow.
or round it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a knife that would look good with a rounded tip.
No. Don't do that.
No. All right, Sean, what you got? What's the first one you'd throw out here? And he said this one wasn't easy for you.
No, dude, I'm going to caveat everything I'm going to talk about, except for maybe one, I'm pretty happy with where I am right now. And if I did anything or changed anything along the way, that may not be the case. So all of these are kind of, I guess if I had to go back and give myself a nudge, this would be it, but I don't think I would do it.
All right.
Well, we're not talking about the butterfly effect here. We're just kind of saying, maybe also some good advice for new makers too, or newer.
Okay. then that's the way I've got to approach it. Because, dude, I got the whole butterfly effect in my head, and it was totally fucking me up.
We don't have a real time machine, so...
What?
Not with an attitude like that.
What did we spend that Patreon money on?
Oh,
Billy swore
really
it was a
don't
time
have
machine.
one.
All it did was shock my nuts.
That's right. Billy said, okay, boys, hook these clamps up.
Damn you, Billy Cho.
If I had a nickel for every time I said, damn you, Billy Cho.
No shit.
Luke Swenson would be sitting on a mountain of nickels out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad I'm not the only one who gets a total kick out of their fucking animosity. Like, I would throw kerosene on that fire any day.
Anytime. That's right. That's right. All right.
Anywho.
What you got?
And, okay, number one, to thine own self be true. When I was coming in, I had people giving me advice, and for a little while, I listened to it. I got to the point where I was like, I was pretty confident in myself, and I was like, I know what works for me. But for a while, I was listening to guys who were like, well, you need to make a drop point hunter. If you're not making a drop point hunter, you're not going to get anywhere. And, just shit like that. And, there were several years, probably 3 or 4 years starting out where, I was trying to follow those little footprints on the dance floor and do that dance. And thankfully I figured out fairly quick, that ain't my dance. That ain't what I come to the dance for. So I, started doing things my way. But if I'd have had that little bit of confidence more from the get-go and had somebody tell me that, there isn't a set paradigm for this thing. This is as fucking DIY as it gets. And when it's do it yourself, that's do it your way.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. There's a lot of advice when you're starting out, and I think sometimes it's sort of helpful. I think people just trying to be helpful, and sometimes I think it's also kind of prospecting.
Indeed.
To see if you'll be someone who's collectible or whatever. And I don't know, and there's stuff that people aren't going to like or whatever, but it's like there are no fucking real rules to this.
No, there aren't.
A lesson of this. Some people will be like, well, you shouldn't do that. Well, maybe not, but you're talking about personal taste. You're not talking about what can or can't be done. If I want to put the show side of a knife on the inside of the knife, I can. I mean, who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. There have been so many instances in my career, and these were big, game-changing instances for me, where I said, I'm going to do this way. And I had multiple people tell me, you're fucking nuts. Nobody does it that way. Nobody's ever done it that way.
And you're like, yes, I am.
And my answer was like, fucking watch me. And 90% of the time, it worked out to my benefit greatly.
Well, here's the thing. If you look at the industry, you can make pretty much anything, and there's a market. Like, there's some pretty awful shit out there, in my personal opinion.
Preach.
You know what I'm saying?
Fuck yeah, I know what you're saying.
They're selling shit like crazy. So you make what you like. And I mean, there are some guidelines. You can follow them if you want. You don't have to. Because there are people making whatever the hell they want. And there are people lining up to buy it.
And I think that's gotten better, as the years have gone on. There's definitely become more, asses for, every seat for every ass sort of situation. But there was definitely a lot more, it seemed like, when we were starting out, of like, no, that's really not how this should be done, or what you want to do if you want to be successful, and it's like, I just want to make what I want to fucking make.
Yeah, I want to make cool shit that I'm happy with.
Mm-hmm.
Not that fucking cops off somebody else's vibe and was popular 20 fucking years ago, but is a proven seller, and I'm doing air quotes there.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Seems like there's a careful balance of staying true to yourself and what you want to do, and also being open to input, right? Like, there's a happy place somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And that's probably true for all things in life, right? I mean, you should do what you should do, you should do what you want to do, and there's no recipe, and I don't think anyone's saying don't listen to anybody else's advice, but maybe don't let it drive the bus necessarily.
Now,
Yeah.
dude, I will say, with the advice you're given, weigh the voice that is giving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you picking up what I'm putting down by that.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's voice carries the same weight. Not everybody's opinion carries the same weight.
No. Who benefits, and if they do, or if it's just someone actually giving helpful advice.
And dude, yeah,
Take it all
man.
with
Sometimes
a grain
it's
of
not
salt.
even for personal gain. Sometimes it's just somebody who wants to hear their own fucking voice, and they're just
Yeah.
talking out their ass because their head don't know better.
I have realized that for sure. That's yeah.
But and part of it, man, you know, you're young, and sometimes it's older makers who are giving you this poor advice,
Yeah.
and then you need to weigh, well, this guy hasn't ever sold out at a show, so you know, how serious should I take this bullshit?
You know, and sometimes they have, but it's like, but that's your thing. That's not my thing.
Yeah, true enough.
So yeah.
Sorry for laughing. I wasn't laughing at what you guys were saying. Kind of.
I didn't even hear you laughing.
Tom just yelled at some kids to get off his lawn at the shop.
No, when you're saying talking out of your ass, it always I think it's Airplane where he's saying something about her dog being ugly, and she's like, well, that's his butt. And he's like, well, he's really not going to like that treat I just fed him.
Good God. Such a classic. That's funny.
Makes
It's
me laugh really
It's
bad.
hilarious that you remember that line.
I don't know why.
I do that. Dude, that's one that sticks with you. I mean,
Yeah, that's a fair point.
That's such a funny line. But yeah. Mark, what about you?
Well, I don't think I can follow "To Thine Self Be True." I'm not sure I can swing after that, but I'll give it a whirl, I guess. So these guys are talking the things you'd tell yourself starting out, like advice to a younger you or a new maker. And in my case, I'm talking kind of from the collector guy perspective, I guess. But I think a lot of these some of these are true to any hobby. But the first one I'll throw out there is, and I was going to try to put this in brutal office cliche lingo, but I couldn't come up with them for every one of them. But this one's one. It's a marathon, not a race.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think people oftentimes today come to the hobby and feel like they need to go 0 to 100. Right. And
Yeah.
I think a good piece of that is the social media effect, right? Where you're on social media, you see a bunch of cool stuff, and immediately someone new to the hobby is out, you know, trying to buy some super exotic special piece. And that's not everybody, right? A lot of people still come at it kind of like, ooh, damn, custom knives are expensive, right? And they kind of do the production thing for a long time and then move over. That's kind of how I did it. And I think lots of people have, but there's a whole bunch of people that just walk up to the plate and start swinging. And, you know, my advice, and I've given this advice a few times to newer collectors, right? Take your time to learn and explore what's out there. And, you know, if you're buying pieces along the way as part of figuring out what you like, that's okay, right? Do it. I mean, I certainly did, right? I bought pieces that before I started going to shows that I couldn't see, you couldn't actually check out in hand because I wasn't going to a show. So I have to buy something and then say, oh, that's really cool, or, oh shit, that's not that good. Right? And then turn around and sell it, so buy something else. So it takes a while, but, you know, especially given the scope and spread of the industry, right? There's so many people today making stuff. Really try to take the time and figure out what you really love and learn about the makers, go to shows, just if for no reason other than to avoid the whole, I got to buy something to figure out if it's any good, right?
Yeah, that seems like an odd thing to do. But maybe there's like often wonder if there's like a ton of collector group chats or, groups that I'm not in or, not privy to, where people talk about like, oh, is this good or is that good? Or because sometimes it just looks like someone says, hey, this is a pretty cool knife. And it'll be a 3,000, 4,000, whatever type of knife. And then that person, below it gets one too. And you're like, is that all it took? I mean, was there more? Surely there's more to it than that, right? But I don't know. There's so many knives, like you said, and so many collectors, and it's getting kind of wild and crazy.
Yeah, I think it really depends. I'm not sure I'm part of any discussion or groups or otherwise that are secret collector groups talking about what's good and what's not good. That's not a thing that I know about. So maybe it exists and I don't know.
I'll send you an invite.
Thanks, Tom. I'm finally feeling like one of the cool kids. But I think the reality of I got to buy one to see if it's cool for me is not unusual in any way, right? And that's certainly for a number of hobbies I've been involved in, that's how it works, right? In lots of hobbies, there is no show to go to check it out, right? Or meet the person that made it. And maybe in some hobbies, it doesn't really matter as much, right? And maybe for lots of people, not maybe, for sure, it doesn't matter to lots of people today, right? A lot of people buy shit, they don't give a shit who the person is. So, everybody's got their version of what that looks like. My point of advice is just to figure out where you think you land there, right? And you're going to own knives along the way, and that helps to kind of sort out for yourself what's what and what you like and what you don't like. But it's okay to take your time.
Yeah.
And you meet some cool people along the way if you put the effort and a little bit of travel in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just, I say old guy words like, oh, social media. Okay. So there's a bunch of stuff, right? There's a 1,000%. There is an Instagram effect, right? Someone posts something really cool or beautiful or pretty or whatever, visually interesting on Instagram, and that makes careers today. That's reality, right? But for me, I owned knives, production knives that I saw at gun and knife shows, right? Like Production Emerson's and Spyderco's and shit that you could buy at the local knife show. I didn't know anything about knives. My friend that I used to go to shows with told me, hey, these are good knives. If you want a good knife, these are good. Okay. I don't know. I don't know anything about it, right? And I didn't really care. I wasn't into that, the hobby piece of it. It was like, okay, I need a good knife to have in my pocket, period. So I'm going to buy this Benchmade CQC7. Nice knife, right? And it was expensive to me at the time. And I owned production knives and just carried them like anybody else. And then I'm pretty sure I was on probably Candle Power forums or something, right? Flashlight forum.
Yeah.
And I saw somebody post a Strider Nightmare Grind SMF. And I was like, what in the hell is that? Like, I'd never seen anything like that before, right? I'm like, that's cool. And I saw them sell a few different times on there. I'm like, okay, this knife thing is pretty cool. So I talked to one of the guys and I said, hey, where are people, like, is there a place where people talk about these knives? Like, I'd like to know more about it. And he said, oh, yeah, this Usual Suspect Network, I'll send you an invite for it, or I'll ask them to add you to their participant thing or whatever. So that's how I got to the USN. And then it was like, holy shit, there's like a giant world of people that love this stuff. And, you thought that was cool. Check this out. And it all just kind of exploded from there. But I think I see people today come into the hobby and very quickly, stomp on the gas and maybe move certainly faster than I did. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? If it works for you and you have money to do it. But I also think it's probably wise to take your time to learn a little more, explore around a little bit, get to know some people. If it matters to you, who makes the stuff, right?
Yeah, I 100%. I think if you have the money for it, and I'm not talking like, at the moment, like real money to spend on, because man, there's a lot of, you see, oh, I took a bath on this one. It's like, well, I mean,
don't take away my items here, Burge.
Okay, another. So, but anyway, if you want to get what makes it really weird is imagine that one guy that told you, these are cool knives. This is what you get. Yet it wasn't just you. He had access to thousands upon thousands of people that wanted to buy something. And like you said, it can 100% become a career maker for, the right person saying the coolest thing about a knife. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is the new hotness. And you see it kind of spread. It's so wild.
Yeah. Well, it's wild, wild west. How many times have we said that?
A lot. We're old men and we have old men opinions.
Yeah, that's a fact. All right. That's the end of round one. We got to keep moving. Michael, what's your second one?
You know what? I think this could apply to a lot of folks. We're first starting out. We want to stand by our product. We do the old lifetime warranty. We do the old, we're going to fix stuff. We're going to do whatever. It doesn't matter. I've got like 5 knives out there. And then, and we see this over and over and over, like the whole refurb, spas, stuff like that. People get very much confused with the difference between a warranty and a refurb. A warranty fixes mechanical things. And most makers will fix something that's broken. If it broke a normal way and, you didn't do something fucking stupid to it. But a refurb is a whole different beast. It's saying, I scratched it up and I want you to clean it up. And man, there's a lot of folks that did them very cheap or free or whatever. And you watch it and you're like, at some point that's going to bite you. And it usually does.
Explain how you know.
Well, I can tell you from experience because I actually had to shut mine down. And by shut down, I mean, it's not really shut down, but it's, I had to kind of close it off because I was getting 3 or 4 requests to refurb a week. And it was all basically to sell. It was like, can you clean this up for me? No problem. I'd clean it up, or I'd be like, I got to get to that while I'm trying to make something else and actually, do stuff to make money. And then I'd, feel guilty that it took me longer than I thought it would. And then I wouldn't charge or do anything. It just, I don't know. I got to resent doing refurbs. And then as soon as you do, it's immediately for sale. A couple times for sale before you even got it back to them. And you're like, nope, that shit's not flying. It got so fucking out of control. I resented a lot of that. I was upset, frustrated. And I said, I cannot do it. And at that point, I actually had a couple older makers be like, why would you do that? And one guy's like, I get like 3 or 4 a year. And I'm like, if I got 3 or 4 a year and that's all I got, that no problem at all. That wouldn't be an issue, But it was purely just to get it cleaned up and fixed up. And it was, hormones and stuff like that. There's a lot of folks that didn't. There's a reason I don't do as many of those as I used to. A lot of folks didn't know how to take care of them or whatever. So it's like to completely strip down a blade, resand the whole thing down, etch again, all that crap. It's so time consuming that I was like, yeah, shut it down. But
that was the refurb train blowing into town.
Yeah.
Just left.
So yeah, I would, I'd tell myself, let's nip that in the bud before it got crazy. And I don't know, I gotta say to new makers too, it's like, I know you want to stand out. I know you want to stand by your work, but you can stand by your work and not have to, like, I don't know, get too wild with it with the reverbs and stuff, because it will bite you at some point. I don't know.
There's a reason Chevy, Ford, Dodge, none of these places, even if it's highway miles, they will not ever make your truck brand new again.
Yeah. And it's fine. It's fine when you're starting out and you don't have as many, but when the years pile up and all that stuff, it can become, and if you're lucky enough to get, a certain bit of popularity with buying and selling with a secondary, that's when it gets really wild, because they want to get sold. They want maximum money. Obviously, everyone wants to maximize, the sale of a knife, and best way to do it is to have it all cleaned up, or it was like the promise of a cleanup. Oh, don't worry, they'll clean it up for you. So yeah. And I still see it.
I've literally had customers show pictures in the group of them digging with their knife in the ground, saying, "Don't worry, Crine will refurb it."
And you're like, what the fuck? Why would you do that?
Yeah, that's just bad living.
Just, if you want to use it, use it. There's nothing wrong with it. But also, and there's people I take care of because I know that they are collecting and it got dinged up, or I know they're ready for another 5 years of use, and it's like, I'm happy to clean that shit up. I don't care. It's kind of a case by case. But if I got kind of jaded on all that, and I'm sure I lost some customers on that deal, but it's like, I'm just a dude trying to do this as a job. It's not a hobby.
One of the things I get asked a lot is, hey, I bought this knife and it's got orange G10. I hate orange G10. Can you put different scales on it?
Don't buy that. Don't buy that knife.
Don't buy orange G10 if you don't like it, because one of the things I hate is making the same knife multiple times.
No,
I'd rather make a new one. It's easier.
Yeah, we've all done that a few times. That was a mistake we've all made, and hopefully we're not stepping on someone's dick here. But the whole, changing a scale or a whatever, it's fucking like, why did you, like I said, why did you buy it? I know sometimes they're hard to come by, especially, back in the day, they were, less knives, of course. But if you don't like a certain color or whatever, don't get that knife. Just wait, be patient,
Certainly don't get it with an expectation that the maker is going to change it or rebuild it for you.
Yeah, I don't want to. When I made that knife, it was I probably put a lot of thought into it, or thought this was a great combination that I enjoyed. And then when I left my house, my shop, I was happy with it. I was excited with it, and then for someone to be like, I don't like this shit. It's kind of like, all right, I don't know. That was my baby, man.
Look, I asked you to clean up and drop ship a knife one time. The drop ship gets him.
Oh, God, yeah.
No, and it was not without controversy when you made that call.
No.
There were people that were pissed about that. I remember.
Yeah, I've been making friends for a long time in this journey.
Yeah, but there certainly also were a number of makers, some who had already been there, right? And a bunch of others that came along quickly afterward, and for exactly the same reasons, right? Like, oh, we don't have to do this? Okay.
Yeah, the amount of makers that I got, the message was that they were happy. That was a lot of positive on that side. But yeah, not so much maybe on the other side. But I get it, I also, I'd like having clean shit too. But I have a Loxa that I have used. I kind of broke a tiny bit of the tip off, but I mean, I'm not going to ask anyone to fix that. It's my shit, my scratches.
Right.
I put them in there. And that's a whole different beast than just blasting and coating and, changing the look of it. And if you don't want to use it, don't use it. There's nothing wrong with that either. Just don't take advantage. Try to be respectful of the makers and what they're doing with their time, especially.
Yeah, but then you have to give up the use your shit hashtag, and that's a thing.
Man, that's another one. Here we are. I said we might get a little ranty, and we're going full fucking ranty. Yeah.
This is some lightweight ranty.
Usually those guys that, some of the guys that would have the use your shit thing, is sometimes be the first message to be like, hey, kind of like Tom said, I dug this in the dirt.
The thing is, here's the thing. if you're max profiting, I get it. If you want to pass down an heirloom, man, I would never clean up my grandpa's knife or any of that, because that's what made it special. That's the patina of love and use that makes it something memorable to hand down to your people, right? You know, those old carbon steels that are like that beautiful gray, and you know that grandma used this in the kitchen every day and that kind of thing. That's what makes a knife special, in my opinion.
Leave it alone.
For the hashtag use your stuff. Don't abuse it. Grandma wouldn't take her knife out and dig in the dirt and do dumb stuff.
I think
that's what shovels are for.
There's a big difference between use and abuse, and I don't know if some people see it.
Agree.
But yeah, I want to pass down to my kids well-used heirlooms. Nobody wants some new shit as an heirloom.
I mean, unless it's like a brand new Colt single action or something. But yeah,
or Loveless. I don't want to use one like a brand new. But yeah, there's a line. Just, I think, be respectful.
Yep, good one. Tom, what's your second one?
So my second one is one that I think it's one that I followed when I started, and I think a lot of new makers, it would make sense. I see so many people reaching out and saying, hey, work has all this steel. I don't know what it is. What do you think? Or I think this might be X, but I don't know. Man, right now we're in this beautiful era of knife making, right? You can buy known steel to start out with. Your time is worth something. And they're like, well, I'm going to practice on this. No, don't. Maybe use it for fixtures or something else. Don't even practice on it. I see people saying, hey, learn how to grind on a wooden stick. That's stupid too, in my opinion.
That does not work.
You're not going to learn anything other than how to grind on a stick.
Yeah.
Because when you go to grind anything else, it's different. So use a known steel. There's some really easy, inexpensive steels to use that are very forgiving to new makers. They already come cleaned up, and like 01 is dirt cheap. You can buy at Surface Ground. So you can rub that flat out real easy if you want that finish. It's a known dimension. It's a known entity when it comes to heat treat it. My all out recommendation is 1084. If anybody wants to learn, 1084 is like cheap. You can buy an 1/8 inch bar by 1.5 by 3 feet for like $20.
Yeah.
If that, get a known steel that's forgiving, easy to work, and learn, even if it's not beautiful, it can be a functional using piece that you can learn on. And, part of that learning process is actually heat treating too. So if you can't practice that on your steel that you're using, why bother? Just use it for fixtures or throw it in the trash or get scrap price, but use a known steel. And I'm trying not to rant. This is the best advice I can give, bar none. End of story.
Yeah, it's a big one. And it's almost impossible to mess up a 1084 heat treat.
Oh yeah.
It's
so forgiving.
Extremely forgiving, and a hell of a knife steel.
Dude,
it's a shit knife steel.
Nice fine grain, tough. It holds an edge well. It's easy to work. Cheap.
Yeah.
What's not to like?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. We've seen
so many
one.
people get caught up on trying to save a little bit of money on this, and it could potentially ruin the craft for you, the enjoyment, because it's like what you make doesn't work. It's crap. It's,
Yeah. What if you're learning and you just had the best grind you've ever done, and then you try to heat treat it and it's, pot metal or some bullshit, or welding steel.
Yep.
And it's like, that was your time wasted.
I just heard Sean cross off his list, go hard on wooden stick knives.
That's some popular advice from actually a very well-known and talented knife makers, but that's something I'm going to disagree with. And I may get put up on a cross for that, but
Oh boy.
Have you ever done it?
hell no.
I have. And it took like half a second to grind. And I was like, this doesn't
You
translate.
won't learn anything. It's like softer than G10, and G10 just disappears.
Yeah. It did not.
You won't get a feel for anything other than maybe your finger in the belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
it wasn't
yeah.
great.
Wow. Get off my lawn too. Who knew?
Sorry.
Would this be
I ran-
3? Is this
3.
2 or 3? Oh, shit, man.
That
It's 106. Get off my lawn. 106.
that wasn't ranting too much, was it?
No, you were
Mm.
mildly hyperventilating.
Damn it.
No, good advice.
Just giving the best advice I got.
Don't fuck about, Sean said. That's Sean's summary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shit or get off the pot. Either
There
you're
you
going
go.
to commit to it or you ain't.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Also,
right, Sean.
he just crossed off who? Loveless from the thing? Packard Springs or something. What did he use? Not Loveless.
Oh, yeah.
Who am I thinking of? Was it
Skagel?
Skagel. I'm sorry.
Randall. Skagel used a Swedish steel. Randall went to the junkyard and got Studebaker Springs, I believe.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Loveless did it on the ship, right? Wasn't that part of his story?
Yeah.
Man, maybe. But once again, the Packard spring was actually kind of a known thing.
Yeah, it's 5160.
So, and I still would recommend against that.
we should
Well-
listen to our own podcast.
You're right.
You'd have to forge
No,
it.
it sucks.
Anyways, that's later on.
That podcast sucks. Don't waste your time. Okay, Sean, what about your second piece of advice?
Spend a little extra on the equipment. Okay, my best example of this is I started out, the bandsaws I would buy, I would get from Harbor Freight, and they were like $240, and I would go through one about every year and a half. And eventually I got really fucking tired of that. And I was like, okay, I can get this same, it looks like the same bandsaw, but it's by Jet, and instead of being $240, it's $700. And I've been running that same bandsaw for like 13 years now. So it kind of paid for itself. Don't chintz out on your equipment. Pay that
Now-
extra money.
I agree with the sentiment for sure. But you know how many of those Knife Maker Special bandsaws are still running to this day? I'm surprised yours crapped out on you.
Dude, I've got 3 sitting behind the shop that I'm going to take for scrap.
Shit, I think Jody Muller still has his from, like late 90s or some shit still going.
How many knives is he making though?
I know, but he put a lot of bandsaw in that son of a bitch.
For cutting up for Damascus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was he actually using it as a chop saw though? Like,
Not as a chop saw, but as a bandsaw.
yeah, I mean, but like the drop down, not set up and pushing against it, and
Yeah, he's used it horizontal and whatever, and I'm pretty sure Marsh still has his original. I don't know. I think fucking kept going.
All right, so
Well-
maybe the moral of this story is I'm rough on bandsaws.
No, I agree. There's a lot of stuff that I wish I would have spent more money on from the get go. I'm just upset that mine was still going when I got a old Delta, and now I have to go back and get a horizontal for Damascus, and I'm like, God damn it! I think I gave it away basically back in the day.
interestingly, Sean, this was also one of that was my backup.
All right.
And it's not just like bandsaws or grinders, which I think I'm still running the same grinder I bought in 1998. Literally. It's like they're worth the money to get good tools. And one where I see a lot of people cheap out is a vise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Big time.
that's one where a good vise, well, I broke several of the cheap ones until I got a Wilton. And I've been running that same vise in this shop for like 20 years.
No shit.
It takes a few hundred years to hurt a Wilton.
Oh, and I'm hard on it. It's the yellow industrial one from MSC, so they've gone up, but I think I only spent like $300 on it back in the day, and that thing has been a workhorse. It's covered in epoxy, and stuff's been soldered and burned on it.
Now, once again, I'm still running my Harbor Freight one
Nah.
from like 18 years ago.
Well, I don't know. I've got
But I don't hammer on and I don't do any of that shit. I've got, an anvil for that.
I was just tightening it and my Harbor Freight one broke. But
No shit.
yeah. I don't know. I've got probably 4 Wiltons in the shop now.
Now,
On different benches.
I would love to have a baby bullet or a bullet Wilton
They're pretty
on
cool.
a power arm.
I got a couple of them.
Who did we have on that talked about the bullet?
Oh,
Was it
Sal
Sal?
Monero's
Yeah.
he's a big Vice guy.
Yeah. I was going to say,
Those things went crazy. Like when I bought mine, they were $300, and now they're like out of sight.
Yeah, it's I look every once on eBay like maybe they went down. I'm like, nope,
No.
they didn't go down.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those. I just bought a Vice that, who was it that somebody made it? Delana, I think, or no, Barnett maybe had it. I don't know, but I found it and some dude was machining it and it fits in a Panavice base, which is kind of cool. So it's like this little bitty,
Oh yeah,
really
Someone did
accurate
kinda do it.
vise.
Someone did kind of a power Vice or power arm type of thing, didn't they?
Yeah, it's really cool. It was a couple $100, but I mean, for a little precision going a Panavice base, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no shit. No, I think to a degree, like, stay within your means. I used to see, Mayo used to be a big proponent of that. Anytime we'd ask about, a mill or something, he'd be like, get a Bridgeport, or I'm like, man, I live in I don't know, this is a hobby. Bridgeports aren't around here, much, and I may do with some, cheaper machines for a long time, because I was trying to stay within my means. So I don't
Buy
know.
the best you can afford. I've made every single folder I've made over the last 12 years. Obviously I'm making parts on the CNC for the last couple years, but before that, and even now, I still use it for counterboring. I've got 2 of those little mini mills that I've got set up, and that's what I use.
Yeah.
I've got them.
Yeah.
They're better than the drill press because they're accurate. And
Yeah. Some of that stuff can be reallocated. Like I have one of the Grizzly ones set up. It's basically a drill press, but it's a mill.
yeah,
But yeah, that's good advice though.
and it's the same as use go through belts like you get them for free.
That's for damn sure.
Seriously, seriously, how much shit have you botched up trying to get an extra pass out of a belt?
I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I don't
They get
either.
moved to, grinding shit up, once they're fucked. It's kind of like the dull knife thing. You will fuck your shit up faster than hell on a dull belt or your hands because you're pushing like a son of a bitch.
I use my belts probably more than most people, but I also use serrated wheels, which makes that possible. If you're grinding on a smooth wheel, sound advice.
I think you also go the recommended speed. We're in the world of ceramics and they're made to go fast and create new grit. And I don't go fast enough for that.
Yes,
I don't grind real fast. I use heavy pressure.
I don't, neither one of those. Light pressure, real slow. Like I'm slow dancing to the end. Woo!
Oh boy. Grinder technique showdown.
Yeah. I think we understand why I'm a slow maker now. Slow
was
at
like-
making knives, not the other way.
I was like, is he actually disagreeing with Tom about grinding? Is this a dream?
No, everybody does it different.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing.
Whatever works. But
Our guys in the shop used to say, Sean, buy once, cry once. That was always the saying.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a good one if you can get away with it, but don't put yourself,
you
in
got to
debt
start
to-
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if the difference is like $150 between one thing and another, that'll really up your productivity or quality.
Mhm.
Man, shell out that $150.
Yeah. Talk to other makers. Find out what is actually working. Because there are some cheaper things that work fine and you don't need the super duper whatever. But there's some things that will fucking help you immensely if you pay that extra money.
Right. And the converse of that is true also. And I've chased this in the shop at times where, you know, oh, this widget will make it faster, or this guy's using it this or that way. And I've tried 5 different things, and really what I had at first would work just fine if I put in the time to learn it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
there's more than one way to do things. And sometimes I've tried to throw money at problems, and sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Oh, yeah. I think we've wasted enough money on little things and trying new crap that
Yeah.
you don't have to. Just ask. We can tell you if it really works or doesn't. But you know what works for me or doesn't work may work for you.
Yeah. Very good, Sean.
Thank you.
Bring it, Mark.
My number 2 is don't sleep on fixed blades. That was me dropping the mic. That was the wimpiest mic drop sound ever.
I thought maybe you stabbed it or something.
Yeah, what the hell?
I like that.
I was going to say Tom should be cheering right now. Why is
Yeah.
there no cheering?
I'm
There's my
trying to find the button to make the trumpets and stuff play.
Da, 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 da. They're usually a little easier to get. They're easier to buy. Their price, generally speaking, less than folders, certainly in today's market.
I think they're cooler.
They are super cool, and there's a ton of great makers of fixed blades that may or may not have started making folders, or also make good folders, or maybe are just dabbling in folders. But that's not something I had really taken a huge interest in, because I, for like my day job, I couldn't carry a fixed blade. Certainly not within the rules, but
I'm just saying you could.
yeah, I know you would say that, but I have a more recent appreciation for fixed blades, so I would encourage younger, newer collectors to go explore there, because a lot of the basics are there, right? A really nicely finished fixed blade is a keen sign of a good maker, right?
Yeah.
With good geometry, shit's done right, it's super symmetric, and if the finish work is done right, then I don't know, that's a pretty good sign. And if you're not sure what to look for, ask somebody. Actually, make sure you ask somebody who knows what the fuck they're looking at. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's solid advice. I think that there's so many folders, especially when it comes to the social media stuff. There's a ton of folders, especially like in the groups and the areas that we, are in, that it's like you pop a fixed blade in there that's badass and done well. Like, holy shit. And it probably costs,
Stands out.
half of what someone's whatever folder ran. And you're like, oh shit. And let's be honest, there's some of these folders that aren't really carried or whatever. They're looked at. They're art pieces, which I'm all about, do what you want with them. So the same could be said for buying a fixed blade and doing that. And you're right. It's like, man, you can see the craftsmanship. You can, I don't know. It's a huge, huge canvas for quality.
I know you guys are going to agree with me here, but I'm kind of weird on this whole knife thing.
yes.
So I like custom fixed blades and factory folders. Like I appreciate custom folders, and I have a few, but most of the time I'm using my stuff pretty hard, and I don't want to use $1,000 folder pretty hard.
Right.
I don't mind using my $1,000 fixed blade. I'm weird that way, I know, but for some reason that's my love. I love, like, sometimes I do the trade things and people offer me all these folders and they're awesome folders, and I'm like, oh, I'd really like to have those, but I'm probably going to pass on that because I'm not really a custom folder guy, as weird as that sounds.
No, I generally chase stuff that I couldn't buy as a kid.
Yeah.
Kind of strange, funky things like that. And the allure of a big, badass fixed blade still gets me. And usually if it's really impractical, I'm just like, yeah.
Like the Jungle Kings and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that. I get a big kick out of. And I think kind of this podcast, we have to blame ourselves for putting that love back into it, because Mark got the old Bowie fever as soon as, a few episodes in, he started being like, oh, fucking
Bad.
mm-hmm.
Night
Yeah,
sweats and the whole thing.
When we went to Vegas, I carried a SOG Tomcat
Nice.
Ooh,
because it's just cool, man.
it's different.
Straight out of the early 90s.
Yeah.
It's the first nice knife I bought.
But that puppy was heavy.
Yeah, it was. But I don't care.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, don't sleep on fixed blades.
Good call.
Yeah, I would have started
For
buying them
sure.
a long time ago if I just got over myself. But here we are. And they're not everybody's thing, right? You got to buy what you love, like I said in the earlier one. But take a look at them because there's some cool shit and some really, really good stuff out there too.
But I think your advice of not just that, but just like, you don't have to collect what the social media tells you what to collect.
What?
Yeah,
Except
I think
outputs.
that's an important thing. We fall into this is the hot new folder maker. It's like, I don't know, if you like, neo tribal, or you want to check out some slip joints or whatever.
Hell
There's
yeah.
tons of great shit out there. Kitchen knives, just so much good stuff. Just, kind of try some new stuff. You might find some new enjoyment.
Yeah, the rabbit hole is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Go explore it a little bit.
Dude, the thing with fixed blades is makers are only limited by their imaginations. You don't have to worry about these mechanics and if this is going to fold in there and if this is going to hold up under this amount of pressure with this geometry and blah, blah, blah. You just got to worry about, will this fit on the fucking piece of steel I got?
Right.
Yeah.
Can I grind it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Good point.
Right. Don't have to worry about stuff like, can I hide the detent ball and track? Oh, whoa.
Not
Not going
ranty. That was close. Very close. We were
I reeled it back.
teetering on the edge.
Teetering. Okay. That was all the way through number 2. All right, Michael, you're up. Third one. Last one.
I think truthfully, if I want to go back and talk to myself, I would say don't be so nervous to ask questions, and talk to some of my peers at shows. Some I did, and some I was just like, oh man, they're gonna think this is stupid. I shouldn't ask them anything. And it's like, and now I love when someone comes up and talks to me about knives. And that was a big realization. Just like, we're all just knife nerds. It's okay. Just go talk and shoot the shit. That was
Hell yeah.
some of the best part about the shows. But yeah, some of those guys, there's some that, it helped, go to a show and have some, adult courage and shit. But man, there's a lot of them like at the actual show that I wish I would have walked up and been like, introduced myself and said, hey, I'm making knives and I really like what you're doing and all that shit. And I just, kind of didn't.
And co-sign on that. That was actually one of my, had that kind of in my back pocket. So yeah, I agree with that
Good advice.
110%. Like
Yeah.
I wish that I had guys who were, really huge names at the time who aren't with us anymore. I wish I had gone up and talked to them
Yeah.
Well,
and not been of the opinion, well, he's so-and-so and he don't want to talk to me, because there's a pretty good chance he'd have talked to me.
yeah, and if
Yeah.
they don't, they're an asshole. Move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great test. You know,
Yeah, right.
Seriously, yeah.
but 90% of the time, they probably just want to talk knives because that's what we're here to do.
Right. Especially at a show.
Yeah. And I probably want to talk about their knives and how cool I thought they were.
So your number 3 is get over yourself, Michael Birch.
I just, pretty much just get up, put yourself out there, talk. And this goes to like new people just coming to shows in general, like not just knife makers. If you see a group of people, I think we've talked about this before, hop in. Most of the time you're probably going to find people inviting and happy to talk.
Yeah, how many fun conversations have we had with someone who walked up to the group or someone who said, oh, here's my friend that I just met, right?
Mm.
And that turns into a friendship that lasts a long, long time.
The circle widens and widens and widens. And
Yeah,
shit, then you got a fucking community. And
right.
it's great.
Yeah.
Yep, Michael and I met on the escalator at the Vegas show.
Oh, yeah.
Going to the Mez.
Going to the Mez. He
There
and
was a
Jody.
waterfall there last week.
Is that right?
Yeah, they kept shutting the escalator down because of water.
That's crazy.
That's still a thing? I thought that was like last year or something.
Oh, it rained.
Flooding inside the casino. Yeah.
It rained hard.
Damn.
Like
Make it a
the whole
feature.
show, everybody's watch was alarming for the weather
Oh,
over and over and over.
that's fun.
Yep. Amy and I were walking across the casino floor, I think, and we walked up the escalator, and Michael and Jody were there, and we're like, oh.
He was like, "Are you Tom Crine? I wanted to meet you." And you're like, "No, I'm
No, I had an idea who he was, but, that turned into a good friendship. Lasted a long time so far.
Had my
Guess
pop
so.
collar probably.
Okay, it wasn't that long ago.
Puka shell necklace.
Yes. Yep. Hollister t-shirt, whole thing.
Ugh.
Oh, gosh.
All right, let's
Cap on my pooks, dude.
all right, Tom, you're up with your number 3.
3. So this one I got to be really careful.
Oh, boy.
It
This is
could
going to be good.
very easily turn ranty.
No.
Yeah. So my advice to myself and new makers, I fell into this also. Use simple materials. Okay. High-end materials.
When he says, okay, that's how you know it's about to go off. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I'm just saying,
Go on.
high-end materials don't necessarily make a high-end knife. And it's very easy to mess those materials up or not finish them well, because many of these materials take a different skill set. My advice and recommendation is to learn to use the simple materials like, micartas, not super crazy woods. I mean, wood is actually relatively inexpensive, but don't jump to, Damascus or any of this stuff. Learn to make a super clean knife before you jump to the high dollar stuff. And then you'll have better results. You'll have less stress and you'll waste less materials.
But how am I going to get the likes, Tom?
Well, look at Wolfgang Lorchner. Super simple, and it's amazing. Super clean. There's always a place for that. And there's materials that I would avoid like the plague.
Oh, here it is. Let's go.
Yeah, but your acrylic, a lot of your acrylic materials just aren't suitable for handle materials. These are like your corn cobs in resin or pine cones in resin or
I fucking knew it was coming.
crinite or Fordite. That shit is not going to ever make a good knife handle. It might look cool, but it won't hold up. It
I
won't.
hate the
it won't-
epoxy stuff
What's that?
so much. The epoxy stuff I hate so much.
Yeah, the resin. It's not classic. You'll never see an art knife with it. Now, I have seen some knives with some very nice knives with Fordite. It's Ford. Sorry, Michael.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying it's paint. It won't hold up over time, in my opinion. I've not found it good to work with. It looks interesting, but
Aren't we kind of past Fordite, thankfully?
I think so.
doesn't
God, I
seem.
hope so.
I saw
like
a
it's
lot of it at
reinvented
Blade
again.
Show.
Really?
Yeah, and if I walk by your table and you have this on your table, I'm probably not going to stop ever.
Damn.
This is one customer you're not going to get, okay, pal?
Well, I mean, and I hate to say it, but I'm not looking for, birthday cake handle material or on a custom knife. It's like, it's very,
Tacky.
Garish?
Off-putting?
yeah, I can't think of
Awful.
the exact word I'm thinking. But
Shitty.
I don't like it.
Subpar.
And same with the crinite or whatever. It's always offended me because it's close to my name, especially.
Tom Kieranite. God dang. How did I not see that
Yes.
before?
How did we miss that?
Writing that down?
Yes.
But they don't hold up, and I've gave this recommendation to makers early on, and almost invariably they come back to me and say, yeah, I had to replace all that because that stuff is not stable. It doesn't hold up and it's not pleasing.
Yeah.
So-
I think some of that's personal taste. Some of that is like actual, this shit is not going to hold up and going to make for a horrible knife down the road. Because we're not trying to look for just 2 years of knives. It's supposed to last a lifetime and be passed down.
Yeah.
And some of that, I understand people trying new things and wanting to stand out or look whatever, but I think you have to be aware that there are fad materials and you got to be careful with using some of them, especially with the prices of some of the fad materials. Like the conversation we had just the other day.
Yeah.
So,
But those are actually good materials that are very expensive.
they are good.
Some of the
but
vintage micartas.
Yeah, we were talking about the vintage stuff. Some is great, but just be careful when you're spending a ton to know that it may not, I don't know. Or I guess when you're buying a knife that has something that looks, that's
Make sure
very
you
cool
like the
right now.
material.
Yeah, make sure you like it yourself because it may not be the in vogue material in 2 months from now. Because stuff changes very quickly. And you're 100% right on the clean knife stuff. I love a clean knife, and I'm way more impressed with a clean hand rub, clean handled titanium, well finished knife than I am with just a very over the top, quote, full dress knife that isn't finished well.
Oh, yeah. There's something about green linen micarta or a simple micarta like that with a, beautiful workmanship. It's just, you can tell when it's done well.
Well, when it's simple materials, it's hard to hide mistakes.
Yes.
They will stand out real bright. Damascus, stuff like that. Sometimes, yeah, you can definitely hide some stuff in some of the fancier materials, but you can't when you're just making real simple, clean stuff. Not to say that, it can't be made. It's just,
And
I don't know.
I'm not saying don't go there ever. I'm just saying when you're starting out, learn to use simple materials and learn the skills and learn to make an extremely clean knife. And then when you go to the other materials, the quality high-end materials, then it'll show.
oh yeah. Yeah, we all make fancy knives. We all make, lots of cool material combinations. It's, I don't know. But good point.
Keep it clean, let the work speak for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're learning.
Somewhere in a box around here, I have a set of resin encrusted pine cone scales that Andy Frankart, I think, gave me. There was a show that I didn't go to. We went to dinner with he and his wife, and he, after dinner, said, "Oh yeah, I meant to give this to you. I know you weren't able to make to the show, and that you've been using special handle materials that you've been providing to makers for custom builds, and I figured this was right up your alley."
That's awesome.
I'm like, motherfucker.
Cullen saw some of that at Blade Show, and he's like, "That's kind of like, nope, keep walking."
You're like, you Gibbs slap him on the back of the head.
Hands in your pockets, boy.
Eyes forward.
Yeah, the pine cone. That one's hard to miss, man.
Yeah, it's can be a bit rough.
What you got, Sean?
And my last one is, I wish I hadn't waited so long to go to school and learn machining.
There you go.
Yeah,
That was
amen
a
to that.
big bonus to me. Jeez, it was a total game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get some instruction, right?
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't hurt.
yeah.
No,
that
it
was a
did
backup.
not. It helped immensely. And I was already well into the game. I had a pretty good handle on what was going on, but
Right.
it just really made me a much better maker.
I can totally see that.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you confidence using machines and you know what tooling and why and
Yeah, a lot of it's just a lot of the whys and wherefores and
Well, and it seems like a big piece of that is having maybe a little easier, clearer path on a plan, right?
yeah,
Like here's the steps I need to do, and is actually the right way to do this order, right? Or how to approach it, or whatever, how to set something up. I think those are all huge things that probably lots of guys waste lots of time, material, and money on, right? And end up with crooked holes and shit in the wrong place and stuff that gets thrown out and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. It leads to a lot of experimentation. It's like most of us are usually makers with machines, not machinist makers.
Exactly.
Go become a learned man, young Sean.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I wouldn't change nothing. Things shook out the way they needed to shake out. But
Butterfly effect.
Just by saying it out loud, you fucked it up.
Yeah.
yeah,
Ashton Kutcher's at your door right now.
That's right. All right. And he's not there to punk you?
Nope. A different era, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
he better not be.
All right.
What you got, Mark?
So my third one is, I've said this lots of times. I've said it lots of times on the show. Don't play above the rim. Don't spend a mortgage on knives. Birch talked about this earlier, right? Don't buy over your head. Don't buy at a price that it would hurt to lose that piece. If you can't afford to buy it and lose it, you are doing it wrong.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And if you can't afford to lose it, then no problem. Do what you want. But how many times over the years did we see ads on USN or Blade Forums or wherever else online? I gotta fix my car. I gotta sell this.
My gerbil's sick.
Well, I mean, but real life shit, right?
Yeah.
I absolutely saw it. I go, we're behind on a house payment. I gotta sell this. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Don't do that.
Please don't.
On anything.
No.
But sometimes stuff does come up, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. But don't take away from your savings or your ability to take care of that stuff with things, because they aren't that important.
but sometimes it's nice to have stuff to sell. Like,
Sure.
No, I get it.
I try not to do that anymore, but this last month has been trying with vet bills and
Yeah. No,
Yeah, there's always going to be
life
stuff
happens.
that comes up.
right. Great
But-
advice though, Mark, overall.
I don't know how many times you see somebody posting something for sale or talking about how they're upset that something that they bought has lost money. And it's either like, one, you either didn't do enough
You ain't
research
paying
on it.
attention. Yeah.
Yeah, or you were playing in a field you probably should not have been playing in or something. I don't know. Or understand that these are just things that will depreciate when you buy them. Not every knife that you buy is supposed to hold its value. It doesn't work that way. It did for a little bit, but it doesn't anymore.
Well,
So,
sometimes life happens, right? And I've had people reach out to me even recently. They're like, "Hey, I'm going through something. I'm having to sell some stuff. I don't want you to think it's anything about you." And I'm like, "Dude, it's your stuff.
not at all.
Right.
Sell it.
No, that's different. I think
Take care of your
that's-
family. Take care of yourself. It's like, replace it later if you can or if you desire. But
Yeah.
it's always,
Yeah, there's always going to be stuff that comes up, but just try not to put these material
Don't-
things ahead of, your security, your shelter, your food, and all the things that are necessities,
yeah. If you're like,
because these aren't.
hey, I got to wait until payday to pay for this $100 thing, maybe not, I don't
Yeah.
know.
And I'm not disparaging, someone not making a lot of money, because I'm a knife maker and I don't make a lot of money.
Right there with you.
I know exactly how that is. So just, take care of yourself and pay attention to the market and where it's going. I think people treat them like stock sometimes, and sometimes it works for some people, and for a lot of people it doesn't work out. And it goes back to what we say over and over and over again: buy what you want, buy something you like that you want.
That you enjoy.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you can show it, if you couldn't show it to anybody, would you still want that thing? If the answer is no, then it's just a commodity that maybe you look to sell, or I don't know.
Yep. Shit happens to everybody. Sometimes you got to sell stuff. I'm saying
Don't put it on the credit card.
I saw over and over and over and over from the same people talking about financial pain as the reason that they needed to sell $2,000 knife. And it's like, I don't mean to offend you, bro, but you had no business having a $2,000 knife. Like, what the fuck was wrong with you? Why don't you have that? Where's your 6 months in the hole kind of fund, right? I mean, I don't know. This is the disappointed dad number 3 for me, I guess, but just be smart.
Yeah,
right?
but
this isn't worth it.
No, and there's a lot of, like we've said before, social media pressure and stuff to be like, you want to be liked and whatever, but I don't. No one needs to have a cool knife or a cool thing for me to like them. I don't know.
I just want to say, let's all notice that Sean ain't saying anything on this.
Well, man, I'm trying to talk myself out of buying an M79 grenade launcher.
Right.
So,
Dude, I saw you send that to me. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
dude, I want that. I love that grenade launcher more than I could ever possibly love a human child.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
It's good to know.
Yeah, for those of you looking to shop for me, I wear a size 40 millimeter. All right.
Sorry, Shade. Don't listen to this one.
Yeah.
Who said he's human? I've met Shade.
Good point.
He's super genius.
He's more human than human.
That's right. That's right.
Well, now that song's stuck in my head.
Yeah.
We watched Blade Runner Saturday night. So that's
The
why
new
it's
one or
in
the
my
old one?
head.
Yeah,
The
but
old one. Actually, we're going to watch 2049 Friday.
It's
Have you
actually
not
really
seen it?
good.
No, I've not seen 2049.
Holy shit, man.
It's really good.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's what I...
Shade's not a replicant. He's a replican.
Yeah, exactly.
Can.
He makes Roy Batty look weak.
Damn near a perfect movie. That's all I got to say.
Oh, boy.
It's good.
I haven't seen it either.
What?
Yep, true story. I don't even actually think I saw the first one all the way through.
Holy
What?
shit, man.
Oh, dude.
The hell?
Do we need to all get together and have movie night?
It's an intervention.
You didn't see the final monologue from Blade Runner, the original?
I've seen parts of Blade Runner. I'm not sure I've seen the whole thing. If I did, it's been so long ago, I don't remember.
The final monologue in Blade Runner is one of the best monologues in movie history, and it's only 42 fucking words.
All right. 42 words. I can commit to that.
Yeah, I mean, you can find it on the YouTubes. It's definitely worth your time.
The tubes.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any backups?
I had a few backups.
Nice. A few.
Okay, this one isn't really about me. It turned into sort of more just a ranty thing. And I was like, that's why I didn't include it. But a big one for me is like, look at what's been done before and realize that there's a ton of things that have been done. And I don't know how many times you see someone be like, this is my texture or my new whatever finish or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's been done,
Whoa.
and just look at the history because you'll learn a ton of stuff about some great things that have been done. And there's nothing wrong with exploring. It's great that you're trying new things, but just realize that it may have been done before.
Yeah, and what's interesting is even, I don't know if you remember back when Bill Moran invented pattern welded steel.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was made in World War II, and it's been made a lot. Samurai,
Oh, yeah.
whatever. But it's like sometimes stuff gets reinvented and yeah, nothing's new under the sun.
No, and that doesn't mean don't try to keep innovating and doing new stuff. But sometimes I think it's as in a way to kind of get a foothold and be like, I don't know, look at what I'm doing that's special or whatever. And it might be, it's great. But I also want you to pay respects to someone who may have done it before or whatever. It's kind of like, how many times did we see like the rock texture type of Anzo stuff over and over, and they'd be like, this is my blah, blah, blah finish. You're like, well, that's kind of an Anzo finish, but.
I just call it an Enzo finish.
Well, but you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
I just pay
Yep.
attention to what's been done before and give credit if you need to.
Good call.
Well, all I know is if you put Adidas stripes on your knife, Birch, I know a guy who's coming for you.
Ooh-wee.
I invented those.
He is fucking coming hard for you. All right.
I've got one.
Go for it.
So this is going to be one, not really for me. It's kind of what I did, but it's for new makers. If you're wanting to learn, and this was kind of my thought process always, but then in the group, it kind of came up, learn to stock remove. If you want to learn knife making, learn stock removal. And I'll explain why I say this, and it may be controversial.
All right. Nick
But-
Rossi will not approve of this. Let's see where we go.
No, I think he will. Learn stock removal, and here's why. Because if you want to forge, you have to stock remove. So why not learn one thing at a time? Like we had somebody come to the Blade Texas thing, and his thing was he was forging, but he couldn't grind for shit. And so he kept forging blades out to grind. And it's like, why? You're trying to learn how to grind. You don't need to forge a blade to destroy it grinding. Learn stock removal, learn how to use your grinder. And then when you are comfortable with that, you can start forging, and then you can stock remove, because everybody that forges, except for maybe Taigu, has to do some stock removal. You know, it's just part of it. You don't just forge a blade and it's done. So learn stock removal, learn how to use your tools, and then add the next complexity. That's my take for advice for new makers. I'm not saying don't learn to forge.
Mm-hmm.
That sounded like what you said.
That's what I'm picking up.
Oh my gosh.
We edit it to be like, don't forge, stop,
Yes,
remove,
we got that.
learn.
Nick Rossi is stupid. Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
dude,
There
I'm
you
totally
go.
lifting that out of
Easy
context.
edit to change it to say, I'm saying don't forge.
No, you got to edit it to say, I'm saying Nick Rossi is stupid. Don't forge. It's stupid.
I'm going to use the AI Tom Crine voice generator.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, boy.
But I mean, I think that's solid advice, you know.
Is that why you've been grinding so long?
Yeah, I still haven't got to the complicated part. I don't,
It makes sense to me. I get
eventually
it.
I would like to have the time and ability to forge and make Damascus and some stuff like that, but that's just kind of my personal fulfillment as far as the craft and skill. You know, I think there's definitely reasons to forge and definitely reasons to stock remove, and I don't see the reason to forge for my business. You know what I mean? It is definitely another art. It's a whole nother art form that I just simply don't have the time to invest in.
Yeah.
And it is an art form. And you know, I use steels that don't forge well. So yeah, I think that what I do works for me, and I'm not saying that's what anybody else needs to do. I'm saying if you're wanting to learn to make knives, learn how to stock remove, and then add forging if that's what you choose.
Yeah, you're not saying everybody should be a stock removal maker. You're
No.
saying learn that part of the craft.
Yes.
Yeah. Get it down pat. It'll make your forging pieces that much better.
Sorry.
And easier. It's one thing to focus on at a time.
I'm glad we got that clarified. You can just go tell those people standing out on your porch with the torches that
Yeah.
we got this
Damn
all
it.
cleared up.
It's already on fire, dude. This is crazy.
I'm going to try to forge some shit tomorrow that I shouldn't forge.
I saw that. I'm actually pretty excited for you.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Without really nailing down the stock removal thing first.
I'm working on it.
All right.
Oh my.
Oh,
I think it's good. I'm trying to give my best.
I
advice.
know I'm teasing. I'm sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
I take it all back, except the pitchforks and torches part.
Yeah.
They're coming.
Rossi's stupid. And, yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, Nick. I didn't really mean that you were stupid.
Can't believe you actually did not say that. Sean, did you have a backup?
Let's see. I've thought about taking some business classes or maybe a couple classes on accounting.
Yeah, buddy.
That probably wouldn't hurt.
I did it.
Yeah.
I don't know that it helped.
I'm not talking about like for you, but just like in general for knife makers. Because
learning how to run a business and make a business plan.
Yep. Well, not just that. It's also like retirement and stuff. You know,
Yeah, that's
Roth
more what I'm
IRAs,
thinking.
things like that. You've got to plan for a future that doesn't, have 401ks and stuff.
I got a 401k.
Do you?
Yeah.
I was going to say that to me, that's part of the whole, how do you run an actual real business and have a business plan includes all that shit. But yeah, I agree. Knowing how to run a business and having a plan and knowing what it looks like to get to profitability or make a margin that you need, to me is a obvious and often missing aspect, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely not the best at it. I think it's sometimes hard to see. You just want to create. You just want to go in your shop, create things. That's why we got into this.
Yeah.
So that other side of the brain sometimes doesn't always kick in to be like, oh shit, the future and, all that stuff.
Well, usually when we're starting, we're young and bulletproof, and
Yeah.
who even thinks about retirement?
Yeah.
And personally, I don't plan on retiring.
No.
Me.
But I still invest
Definitely want to slow down.
my money like I'm going to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to be the odd man out. There's 1,000% chance I'm retiring. But it's a different deal. It's a different
You're
deal
working for the
altogether.
man.
That's right. Working for the man.
Well, I mean, I'm going
We
to
are the
retire
man.
someday too. I mean, I've got to die at some point.
Right.
You-
Until
you're-
then,
You're not going to attempt the whole immortality thing we talked about yesterday?
Now, dude, I may have a phylactery set aside for my soul, but that's,
That's a whole other topic for another episode.
yes, indeed.
We'll hit that in 107.
Whether or not I'll become a lich lord remains to be seen.
oh my.
Okay, my last one, my backup was careful of the social media rat race. It is 1,000% is a fucking trap. It is a trap.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, but I think we touched on that earlier. So,
and an illusion.
yeah.
It also feeds into that whole playing above the rim thing. It's
Yeah.
like, it makes it so it's hard. You see so much stuff that's cool, and
It's a trap.
yep, it is.
For sure.
Okay, we're starting to run a little bit long, but we got to get to mistakes. Share a couple
This should
of
be quick. We
mistakes.
haven't
that
made
you
any,
made.
right?
That's right. Yep, episode's over. No mistakes.
Perfect.
Michael, you want to start with mistakes?
I got a mistake.
Uh-oh.
200 orders. Way too many. It
Yeah.
was way too many. And slowly going through them is still so many years, so much. It's like a weight that just hangs over my head.
For people who don't know, you should explain what that is.
Well, okay. So back in the day, I was doing orders and they were just kind of like, it was a lot of like custom, like full custom, like what size? And I'd spend all this time doing like a full, like draw it up on my little sketch pad and make it and
Unique shapes and all kinds of stuff.
yeah. And I was making a lot simpler knives. And I was talking to a buddy of mine and we're like, I guess open order books. And he was like, I was like, what are you going to do? And he was like, 200. I was like, it seems like a lot. He's like, nah, it'll be fine. So I was like, all right, 200 orders and still haven't got through them. And it's like an albatross that just hangs around.
Yeah.
So that was a mistake.
200 was a mistake.
200, too many.
What would the right number have been?
5.
Do it in little chunks at a time. That probably would have been smarter.
100%. I quickly went from doing what used to be kind of a more simple, flat-sided knives to really getting into trying to make, fancier knives. And it changed. It changed everything about how fast I did them, what people wanted. That was also when like the Mokame or Mokutai and Damascus became more available. Because there used to be a time when only a few people had it. You didn't have to worry about that stuff. And then it was like, I want this pattern with this. And, you don't have a ton of money to spend on buying all this stuff, all these different fancy materials. And you're like, that's going to be probably not a knife that's going to look great. You can't shove all the materials into one. And it became like a tough to manage. And you spend all that time talking about building a knife, and you're like, I haven't built a knife, because we're talking about trying to manage someone's expectation or say that we shouldn't do that. It's like every knife want to be like an open bid knife type of quality. And it was killing me for a bit.
Well, yeah, I did the same thing, Michael. I think quite a few of us at the same era did the same thing. And I've still got a book with quite a few names on it, but I wasn't making folders really that much for a while, and it's been years now. And it seems like you're right. Every one was like a custom, open bid type build.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not sustainable. And I've reached out to some of these people. I couldn't get a hold of a lot of them. Some people responded, some didn't. And I'm like, hey, I'm doing something different now. I'd be happy to build you a liner lock, but I'm not doing the full open builds. If you want a G10 handle like I'm doing, or a Micarta, and, I'm not hand rubbing blades, this kind of stuff. And people be like, sure. And then you're like, what do you want? And they're like, oh, could I get, a full build? And then you're like, you don't understand. So I've kind of stopped reaching out, honestly.
No, it can be a bit much. It was, it was almost like wanting to outdo the last knife that I made, which is not,
it's not healthy.
No,
at all.
It got unhealthy
as a maker.
And all that kind of clicked with also like the stuff starting to hit with the refurbs and stuff like that. And I kind of hit a point of like, it was almost like I can't do this anymore type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
whatever you do, if you choose to take orders, whatever, don't take money up front. No money.
No.
Zero.
Never.
That's another thing. I didn't.
Period.
There'd be, I can send you money for. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
Then they own your soul.
We've had that steady drumbeat for a long time on this show. What about you, Tom? Mistake.
Mistakes. I had a lot of stuff that we kind of covered: cheap tools, chasing the secondary. Working on sharp blades is a big one. I've cut myself a lot of times, but really, and this is one that Daniel brought up, and it's one that it's really affected the ability I have, is I didn't learn CAD.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I feel has held me back. I've hired people that do CAD and all that stuff, and I'm slowly learning to run the machine right now, but it's like trying to teach an old dog new tricks, I guess. I was talking to Ben and Daniel, and I was kind of laughing. I was like, yeah, we didn't have computers when I was starting out, and obviously we did. I learned how to write simple programs on a Commodore 64 when I was in 6th grade, but we didn't have a computer in the house whenever I started. Al Gore had barely invented the internet at that time. But you know what I mean? It's like, this is a tool now, and I feel like I didn't take the time to put in the time to learn it. And I feel that it's definitely a tool that is needed for a lot of things at this point. And, it's one of those things I may try to learn eventually, but right now I just can't slow down. And I guess learning to use the CNC machine is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've harped on that one quite a bit. And that was one of the backups when Sean was talking about, was my version was, I wish I would learn CAD sooner.
Yeah.
Right. But
Tom went to the
it.
dock and the boat was gone.
Well, I could still learn. I think one of the most discouraging times in my life was when I went out to Albuquerque to learn CAD. We were learning AutoCAD, and it was me, Luke, Richard, and Pat Pruitt. Those guys are all like kind of CAD wizards. Richard was like, oh, I've never seen a computer before, and he's drawing a 3D duck and all this stuff, and it's like,
I remember the duck story.
Dude, those guys are... Richard's a wizard on it. Pat and Luke are skilled. And it's like, I'm like having a hard time drawing a line. You know, Pat's putting like flames on his duck, and yeah, it was a very tough class for this guy.
But it's the same with, like you're talking about grinding.
Oh, and,
At some point, you'll get it.
and
I definitely
that's
have-
what I need to do. I haven't a lot of the time because I've found workarounds, right?
Yeah.
Sean, what about you? Do you have any duck stories? I mean, mistake stories that you want to tell?
Dude, if you throw out a mistake, and I've probably made it. I mean, I've overcommitted. I've undersold myself. Shit. I've made custom designs for people that I absolutely hated, and now those knives are out there with my logo on them. That's a big one. I hate that those knives are out there, but at the time, I needed the work. And
$20 is $20.
yeah, exactly. That's basically what it came down to.
Yeah. All right.
But I mean, I've made my fair share of mistakes, so it's hard to pick just one.
There's a plethora.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The custom design that you couldn't talk someone down from that you ended up doing because you got talked to into it, those are the rough ones. Because like you said,
Yep.
that's got your logo on it. It's going to pop up at some point and you're going to be like, damn it.
Yeah, and it looks like nothing else you made in your entire fucking career.
Yeah, you made someone else's knife, basically.
And invariably, those knives are the ones that everybody wants. Can you
I don't
make
know
me
about
another one
that.
like that?
No, thankfully, that is not how it played out for me.
No,
Thankfully.
I haven't really seen him. Now, I made one knife with that, what was it called? The gray twill. That's what it was. Remember the twill?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I made one knife with silver twill. And it used to pop up all the damn time. I'd be like, God damn, just calm down with that one, all right?
Yeah, I bet you didn't like that one.
Yeah. I know
Right.
that knife.
Yeah. But it had like some
Personally.
homemade Damascus on it,
I'm going to buy it and send Michael a picture every day. Pocket dump picture.
Yeah.
Every
Make
day.
it a calendar.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it might be one person's jam. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It just
And
wasn't
dude-
for me.
Nah.
In that sense, I did some custom builds for people that I still look back on and like that was fun, and that was a really nice knife, and I'm glad I did that with them.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of those. And
But
that I enjoy that part of it when it's like a real fun collaborative type of thing that you do where it's not, like they're drawing something for you, but they're saying these are the things, the materials I like and it's tasteful and that becomes a very fun experience. It can be one of the most rewarding parts of this job, but also sometimes worse.
Well, I had two. One is buying without seeing the maker's work in hand in advance, which is way more important in custom world than production world, but just because the stakes are higher. But lots of stuff looks good, but doesn't work well or has horrifying edge geometry. If you're going to spend money on knives, go to a show, go to a get together, find somebody who's got one, know what's good, and make sure that what you're about to buy is what you think it is. 'Cause I think a lot of people get disappointed.
And if you go to a show, don't hesitate to handle stuff. Ask, and most knife makers will gladly let you handle their stuff, their knives.
Yep.
But go back and listen to the episode about etiquette, tick rings off, all that fun stuff.
Yes. Yep.
But that is why we were there.
And then my other one was taking the hobby too seriously. I'm 100% guilty of that at a couple different points in time. Super easy to take something you really enjoy and let it become a for-profit thing or sweating dumb shit that sucks the fun right out of what it is you're doing. So much better to just enjoy it for what it is, build a good network of friends, and keep it in the category of something you enjoy, because it's easy to fuck it up by taking it way too seriously.
Very much.
Agree.
And I mean, that's true for any hobby, but certainly for this one.
Yeah. That is no shit. Should be fun for all of us.
Any backup mistakes you guys want to throw in here?
No, I think that's good. It was good enough coming up with one.
Covered some good mistakes.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to
I
talk
copied
for another.
too much, he said.
I want to talk for another 2 hours because I got a lot of mistakes.
Right. Okay. Well, that was an interesting episode.
I don't know what we're gonna call it. Get Off My Lawn Part 3, maybe.
I tried not to go rant heavy.
I got a touch ranty there, and I'm sorry.
I'm going to put the episode, this is me dropping it in the Sean slow cooker and let him stew on it. And we'll come back and check on its progress later. We'll come up with a good name, but...
Yep.
You know what? Future then, they're already going to know what the name is. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're going to know. By the time they get here, they're going to be like, what the hell are you people talking about? It's called something. Butterfly Effect. Butterfly Effect. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it makes me want to name it after like a song. If I knew then what I know now.
We can call it A Sound of Thunder. The Ray Bradbury that covers the Butterfly Effect.
Oh, I thought you were doing some Bob Seger on me.
No,
That's a Detroit
I
boy in me.
got real nerdy on you. I'm sorry.
Interesting chat. We got to say thanks again to our friends on Patreon and George from AMX and the guys at Giant Mouse. And I think we got to sign off this one with a loss of a dear friend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And recent passing of our friend Christy. We had a lot of love for her and for Andy and his family. And we just want to say rest in peace, Christy.
Yeah.
And we wish all the best for your family. And
We love you guys, Andy.
Yeah, all the love from us, for sure.
Yeah, love you guys. If you need anything from us, and I'm sure I speak for all the guys, just give us a holler.
yep.
100%.
I mean, we are just a message away. And it's been rough on us. Rachel and Christy were really thick as thieves, and it's just a poor, poor situation. And I'm going to miss her. Words fail me.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Thanks, folks.
Yeah, man. Thanks all.
Thanks.
To learn more about our makers, you can find Tom Crine on the web at crineknives.net, in his Facebook group, Crine Knives, or in his Instagram account, at Crine Knives. For Michael Birch, check birchtreeblades.com, Facebook group Birch Tree Blade Works, or Michael's Instagram at birchtreeblades. For myself and the Raygun Bead Project, we're on the web at raygundivision.com. We have a Facebook group called Raygun Division, or my personal Instagram, at msteiner. For those interested in photos, references from the show, or some discussion about the show itself, you can find us on the web at markofthemaker.com, in a Facebook group called Mark of the Maker, or on our Instagram, at Mark of the Maker. Last but not least, the ultra cool and haunting background music we use for the show is a piece called Noir Guitar by Stevie's Amp Shack, found at the Free Music Archive and licensed under Creative Commons CC BY 4.0. Thanks for listening.